Welcome back to Nick's Algebraics. Today I'm going to talk about how to solve multi-step equations. So a multi-step equation, you could probably guess, is an equation that requires more than one step to solve. So here's an example and let's solve it. So to solve a multi-step equation, we have to simplify each side of the equation if necessary, and then we're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. And by isolate the variable, I mean that we want x on its own. So to get x on its own, we have to get rid of that -4 and 11. So to get rid of -4, we can add 4 on both sides. So -4 plus 4 is 0, so that's going to cancel out. And you're left with 11x equals 29 plus 4. And we know that 29 plus 4 is 33. And now to get rid of the 11, we have to divide by 11 to cancel out the multiplication of 11. So that's going to cancel out, and you're left with x equals 33 over 11. And we know that 33 over 11 equals 3. And to check your solution, you could substitute 3 for x. For this one, since we're dividing the entire thing by 8, let's multiply the entire thing by 8 to cancel it out. So you're left with a plus 7 equals 5 times 8. And 5 times 8 equals 40. And now to cancel out the positive 7, we can subtract 7 from both sides. And you're left with a equals 40 minus 7. And 40 minus 7 equals 33. In this case, the first thing I would do is get rid of that constant there by subtracting 3 on both sides. So that's going to equal 0, so it cancels out. So you're left with 2 times 1 minus x equals -8 minus 3. And -8 minus 3 is -11. So now when you get to this step, there are two possible ways of solving. So you can either distribute the 2 and solve as usual, or you can divide the whole thing by 2 since it's multiplying by 2, which is what we'll do. So we can divide by 2, so you're left with 1 minus x equals -11 over 2. So let's put -11 over 2 into a decimal. So that would be -5.5. So now let's get rid of this 1 here. So to do that, we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. So you're left with -x, don't forget the negative, equals -5.5 minus 1. So -5.5 minus 1 equals -6.5. So now all we have to do is get rid of the negative. So to do that, we can multiply by -1, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So you're left with x equals -6.5 times -1 is just 6.5. And remember, to check your work, all you have to do is substitute it back in. So now let's do a word problem. Benjamin is buying a pair of water skis that are on sale for 2/3 of the original price. After he uses a $25 gift certificate, the total cost before taxes is $115. What was the original price of the skis? Write an equation for the problem, then solve the equation. Let's break this into little parts. So he's buying a pair of water skis that are on sale for 2/3 of the original price. So 2/3 of the original price, that's 2/3 P. And he's using a $25 gift certificate. So that's going to subtract $25 from the cost. And the total cost before taxes is $115. So it equals $115. To solve this, let's add 25 to both sides to cancel it out. and you'll be left with 2/3 p equals 115 plus 25, and 115 plus 25 is 140. And to cancel out the 2/3, we can multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3/2. So that's going to cancel out, and you're going to be left with p equals 3/2 times 140. And 3/2 times 140 is 210. So the original price of the skis was $210. Your school's drama club charges $4 per person for admission to a play. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costumes and props. After paying back the loan, the club has a profit of $100. How many people attended the play? The club charges $4 per person, and we don't know how many people attended. So we can say that X people attended because it's unknown. And they charge $4 per person. So when you multiply these together, the unit of people and person are going to cancel out. So you're left with 4x. And they borrowed $400 to pay for the props and the costumes. So that's going to subtract the amount of the loan. So that's $400. And after they pay back the loan, they profit $100. Their profit equals $100. So it's going to equal 100. So to solve this, we're going to add 400 on both sides. So we're left with 4x equals 100 plus 400, so that's 500. And since we're multiplying by 4, we have to divide by 4 to cancel that out. So you're left with x equals 500 divided by 4, which is 125. So that means 125 people attended the play. So let's check if our solution is reasonable. So we know it's $4 per person, and there's 125 people. So $4 times the 125. So that's going to be $500. And after paying back that $400 loan, they're going to lose $400 since they're paying it back. So that means they made a profit of $100. So, which is true, so it makes sense. Now let's talk about consecutive integers. So these are integers in counting order. So this is like 1, 2, 3. And using symbols, that's the same thing as just n, comma, n plus 1, comma, n plus 2, and so on. Now consecutive even integers are just even integers followed by the next even integer. So it's going to be like 2, 4, 6, and so on. So that's going to be just like n, comma, n plus 2, since they're 2 apart from each other, comma, n plus 4, and so on. And consecutive odd integers are odd integers followed by the next odd integer. So this is going to be like 1, 3, 5, and so on. So that's going to be using symbols the same thing, n, comma, n plus 2, comma, n plus 4, because they're 2 apart from each other. So let's find 3 consecutive odd integers with a sum of negative 51. So remember, odd integers are 2 apart from each other, like 1, 3, 5. If you add 2, you get to the next odd integer. So that means that 3 consecutive odd integers, that's going to be n plus n plus 2 plus n plus 4. So these are 3 different odd integers that are right next to each other. And their sum, that's why we're adding them together, is negative 51. So let's combine the like terms. So n plus n plus n, that's 3n, and 2 plus 4 is 6, so that's 3n plus 6 equals negative 51. So to solve this, we're going to subtract 6 from both sides, and you're going to be left with 3n equals negative 51 minus 6, so that's negative 57. Then we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, so you're left with n equals negative 57 divided by 3, which is negative 19. But we're not done yet, because we're trying to find the 3 consecutive odd integers. We only found one, which is negative 19. So the next odd integer is going to be n plus 2. So that's negative 19 plus 2, which is negative 17. And then the next odd integer is going to be n plus 4, so that's negative 19 plus 4, which is negative 15. And let's check if our solution makes sense. So if we do negative 19 plus negative 17 plus negative 15, we should get negative 51. So negative 19 plus negative 17 is negative 36, and negative 36 plus negative 15 is negative 51. So you get negative 51 equals negative 51, which makes sense. So I'll post a worksheet with the solutions in the description below, and don't forget to subscribe, like the video, turn on your notifications, and comment down below. Farewell.